This eBay seller claims to have dozens of vintage coin rolls for sale on their shop, so I went and found the most expensive individual roll they had, which you can see here is this $90 roll that I ended up getting in just 2 days, which I am very impressed by the shipping on. But you guys know what I'm here for. I'm putting this thing to the test. We're going to see, is there any chance that this thing is actually vintage at all? And beyond that, will I find anything valuable inside? Now, here is the actual roll, and the seller did say in a message that he believes it's from the 50s, which is kind of weird to me just because I would think you would be confident in when it was from exactly. It's almost as if like you'd say something like that if you weren't 100% like trying to convince the person that it was a certain age, but at the same time you were saying it's vintage. I don't really know, but this roll to me looks pretty old, but at the same time, I'm pretty sure I saw the Silver Seeker video talking about how these rolls are still modern and he found them at his bank recently. So that definitely has me a little worried. Now, this seller did have extremely positive feedback. Only one person had a bad thing to say. And unlike the last person who I bought a roll from in my first ever video, this person does have a lot of history. They offer a 30-day return policy. So I could get my money back if I really felt like I got scammed. But let's see together what exactly is in this roll. In the moment of truth, I won't delay any longer. I'm going to crack it open. This paper does not seem very old to me. Like, if you've ever seen Silver Seeker's viral video where he opened up a roll from the 50s, you see like how the paper looks super pink on the inside. I'm not sure, but if this roll is really as old as the guy claimed, then there should be pennies in here that are from the 40s and 50s that are in really good shape as well, if this roll was rolled up in the 50s. Unless they're all coins that are from like the teens and 20s or something. You know how if you bought a modern roll of pennies from the bank, then, or not bought, but got one, you would find coins that are from like 2020 and even a little bit before that are still really pristine. There should be some of that in here, I would think, but let's take a look and see. It looks to me like a normal, just pretty average roll of wheat pennies. I'm already very, very dubious. There's a few decent ones you can see in there, a few that are in higher shape, or higher condition, excuse me. There's actually an Indian head in there as well, I see. So I'm going to get these all sorted out for you guys, and I'll be right back. So before I get into what I found here, I just want to say, don't go and harass the guy, but yeah, this was a pretty bad deal, and there is basically no chance that this roll is actually from the 1950s. First of all, if you look at the quality of the paper and compare that to other vintage rolls that have been opened on YouTube, they're completely different. I'll play a little video from Silver Seeker here. You can see how his roll looked, just as an example. Now, I'm not sure if they did random coin rolls back in the 1950s or if they only did it with new coins. Like, you can see his are all from the same year because they were actually all rolled from a canvas bag. But in any case, this paper quality is not from the 1950s. But beyond that, let's go and take a look at some of these coins that are supposedly from 1958. Look at that, 1958D, already heavily worn, and there's a bunch of them as well, and you start to get into it. Beyond that, the only good coins were the ones on the ends in terms of decent years. You have the 1914S, that's actually a little semi-key date, and then you have a 1909 VDB. There was one Indian headset in there from 1887 that's in terrible condition. I don't think that they would have put Indian cent in the same roll as wheat pennies back then, although I could be totally wrong about that. That's not really any sort of like point that's valid. But what is valid to say is that a roll that was from the 1950s should not have coins from 1958 that are already heavily worn. There's just no way that this coin was not circulated for many, many years. And based on the paper quality, there's no chance that this was not just a complete lie as far as this roll being from the 1950s. In fact, I'm pretty sure I even saw a video specifically warning about the type of roll that this was in. So what this really goes to show is that despite someone having really great feedback, if they're offering something that seems like a deal that's too good to be true, which is the chance to buy a vintage roll of coins that they didn't open themselves and they're just going to let you search through them, it's probably not worth your time, especially when you have something suspicious like a semi-key date right on the end, and then that's the best coin by far in the entire roll. Not a single other date in here was anything of any substantial value. I went and looked through all the coins, even with the older ones. There was a bunch of 1919s because, of course, in Philadelphia, they made hundreds of millions of 1919 pennies, or they made hundreds of millions of pennies in that year, excuse me. My point is, the pennies that are in here that are really old are super common years that you can readily buy very, very cheap. So, unfortunately, this does appear to be another scam. I am heavily considering actually getting my money back. If you guys have any suggestions for how I should go about doing that, they do offer a 30-day return, so I think I should be good. It even says that the seller actually pays for shipping as well, so I think I should be pretty good as far as having a case to say that this is definitely not from the 50s. Now, to be fair, they said that they thought it was probably probably from the 50s. And I know there are a few coins that actually look nice from that year that are mixed in, a few Philadelphia coins, but again, there being that many 58D coins that are already so heavily circulated, and this coin that already has, you can see so much oxidization, it looks like, a lot of erosion on the surface. Look at that coin from 1957. I mean, come on. There's just no way that this was actually rolled up in the 50s. And even if the seller wasn't trying to scam me themselves, then they got scammed and then passed it on to me. Definitely there was a scam along the line here. And again, it just goes to show that no matter how good something might look, unless you're buying from somebody who's a real trusted person, I just would say you're just not going to get any sort of value out of making the purchase. Even on eBay, like just in general, there does not seem to be a single legitimate unsearched roll out there.